Good morning and welcome back to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. And as always, we're back with another massive show to bring you guys this morning. But before we jump into that, please do smash a like on the video and please do subscribe to the channel if you are new. So on the show this morning, a lot of it will be focusing around this new shirt sponsorship with a company called Snapdragon, which I've never heard of, but we will of course talk about that in a minute. We'll also be talking a little bit about the Jadon Sancho situation. There's been more developments since we spoke last night, as well as a hell lot of other things. Do get involved in the comment section. Do let me know your thoughts on everything we discuss on the show this morning, and let's jump straight on into it. So let's start off with this shirt sponsorship thing, because this is the big news story of the day. So this is coming out from various different outlets, confirming, all the business platforms are confirming this, that Manchester United believe their new shirt sponsorship with Snapdragon will be the largest in world football, exceeding £60 million per year. So just to give you guys a bit of context, at the moment, Manchester United's deal with TeamViewer is £47 million per year. The new deal with this company called Snapdragon, which we will be talking about in a minute, is apparently worth 60 million. So it is an increase, 13 million pounds. It's about what, a third of what we're currently getting at the moment on top of it already. So when you look at it like that, great, another 13 million pounds in the bank every season. Can't really complain, can you? That, it sounds great, doesn't it? But the question I want to ask you guys is, do you think that this means that the Glazers are staying? Would they be confirming shirt sponsorships if they were still planning on going? We will talk about that in a minute, but for the time being, do get your thoughts in the comment section. Let me know whether you think that because of this new sports shirt sponsorship, do you think the Glazers are staying? So it says Manchester United confirmed Snapdragon as their new front of shirt sponsor for the 2024-25 season. So it will come into practice next year. Obviously this season will be TeamViewer. From the beginning of next season, it will be Snapdragon. It then goes on to say that Snapdragon is a brand of Qualcomm Technologies, who are already a global partner of the club. So we already have a relationship with this company. I believe they're one of our technology partners. It then goes on to say that Snapdragon will feature on the home, away and third kits of the men's and women's team. Now, I don't know if any of you guys have seen their logo, but it's giving me massive Vodafone vibes. It's kind of like a circle with a flame in it and then says Snapdragon. I don't actually dislike it that much. I think it's all right. Like, I've never heard of them. I think, as I said, they're a technology-based company. But generally, I think on the actual shirt, it's way more nice than TeamViewer. TeamViewer was so ugly. Obviously I don't buy the shirts anyway, so it doesn't really make a massive difference to me personally. But if I'm just talking about it from an aesthetic, visual, conversation, I think it looks quite nice, and I don't have a massive issue with having that on the front of the shirt. But the thing we want to talk about on today's video is, does this now mean that the Glazers are staying? My answer to that is no. I don't think so. I don't think it does mean the Glazers are staying. Do you know why? Because this is just another thing that gives them more evidence of their, whatever their valuation is, because they can say to Sheikh Jassim, they can say to Sir Jim Ratcliffe, they can say, you know what? We've just signed the biggest shirt sponsorship deal in world football, £60 million. I think the current highest is Real Madrid's. Let me just double check. I think the highest one at the moment is Real Madrid. Yeah, so Real Madrid get 65 million euros per season from Fly Emirates, which is what's that in pounds? Yeah, 56 million pounds. So Manchester United will be more than Real Madrid's, and Real Madrid is currently the top one. What's the second? The second is PSG's, which is Qatar Airways. So yeah, we will have the biggest shirt sponsorship deal in world football out of any club, which is crazy when you think that we haven't won a Champions League in God knows how long. We haven't won a Premier League in 10 years plus, and we're still able to attract these massive names, and massive amounts of money to go on the front of our shirts. So I actually think that this only strengthens the Glazers' hand in trying to get the amount of money they want, because they can say, look, we've already got you this new shirt sponsorship deal, the biggest in world football. They've just agreed a £90 million per season deal with Adidas, which I think is the highest in world football as well. So, in the last 12 months, we've had all of this turmoil, all of these issues off the pitch. We've had Ronaldo, we've had obviously the Greenwood situation, we've had the Sancho situation now, we've had David De Gea. We've had so many things going on at this club which have been bad, right? But yet we're still able to get £60 million shirt sponsorship deals. We're still able to get £90 million from Adidas. The money is still being given to us, even though we're not really performing on the pitch. and we're not really performing off the pitch either. Obviously, from a commercial sense, we are. Like, our numbers just keep going up and up and up. The revenue keeps going up and up and up. Our fans don't seem to stop supporting us, which is obviously, you know, to be expected. But I think from a takeover perspective, I don't actually think it matters too much. I'm not that worried about it. I've seen some people on Twitter saying, that's it, the Glazers are staying. Just think about it like this, right? Business has to run as normal. TeamViewer's contract expires at the beginning of the 2024 season. And you're probably thinking that's a really long time away, but it's not. That's in what, June? What are we in now? September. It's about 8 or 9 months away. So in 8 or 9 months, Manchester United will not have a shirt sponsor. So they needed to get this done now. And I think that, you know, it would have weakened their hand if they'd been on the negotiation table and Sheikh Jassim had said, well, you don't have a shirt sponsor. That's, you know, £60 million a year that you're losing. I'm going to take that off the value of the club. Whereas they can say, well, we've just, you know, we have just achieved the biggest shirt sponsorship deal in world football. There's clearly a massive brand here. We want X amount of money. Either you pay it or we go. But let me know what you guys think about this one. Do you think that it makes any difference? Do you think that maybe this means the Glazers are staying? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments section below. I'm just going to double check something really quickly. I'm just trying to check if Manchester United's kit manufacturer deal is the biggest, because I think it might be as well, which is just crazy, isn't it? Yeah, so we have, so 1 month ago, right, we have this headline: Manchester United make history on Monday when they announced the biggest kit manufacturing deal in Premier League history. The Red Devils blew out rivals when announcing their new 10-year partnership with Adidas worth over £900 million, running until 2035. So we've just got £900 million kit deal, the biggest in Premier League, and we've just got the biggest shirt sponsorship deal in world football. I mean, just think about that for a minute. It's absolutely crazy. So just to give a bit of context, the highest one in world football at the moment is Manchester United's. So it's the biggest in world football. It's 104 million euros per season. The second highest is Barcelona's with Nike, which is 100. So when you look at it like that, right, you can see why the Glazers want all of this money, because we're literally making so much money, yet we're not really performing. So imagine if we actually did start performing. Those deals would be worth even more than what they're worth now, wouldn't they? But let me know what your thoughts are. Obviously, the Adidas deal is from 2025 and the Snapdragon deal is from 2024. So it's for the future. It's not for the now. And do let me know what you think. Does this mean the Glazers are staying? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below, and I will read out a couple of your opinions. Let's see what you guys are saying. Keith says they're driving more demand from the overall price of the club. Yeah, mate, exactly. That's exactly what it is. Carlos says, stop panicking. This is business. A business has usually, plus the sponsorship, has connections with Qatar. Yes, that is something that I wanted to bring into the show. So thank you for mentioning that. So I did a bit of digging into who owns Snapdragon, or who are the biggest shareholders in Snapdragon. I'm just going to get it up for you. So let's have a look. Okay, cool. So the biggest owner is the Vanguard Group, which own half of the business in the world. But the reason I wanted to bring this into the conversation is Qatar Investment Fund, which is ultimately the same people who are trying to buy Manchester United, are the 7th biggest shareholder in this Snapdragon company. So I thought that obviously does have some significance. They are a shareholder in this company, so they would have been involved in this deal. Here we go. Yeah, so let me know what you think about that one. There is some links to Qatar with this company. Obviously, everyone was thinking it's going to be Qatar Airways, it's going to be this, it's going to be that. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be Snapdragon. £60 million. You can't really complain about that, can you? It's a hell of a lot of money to get for a shirt sponsorship. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I will read out a couple of your opinions. Let's see what you guys are saying. Nathan says the Glazers are just trying to get more money by doing this deal. Yeah, 100%, mate. That's what I think it is. I think they're just trying to prove to Sheikh Jassim, prove to the rest of the world why they valued the club at this much money. That's all they're trying to do. If they'd sat on their hands and not done any of these deals, then I think it would have weakened their hand. It really, really would. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on that one. Henrique says, how will all this tie into the club value, or is the majority of the value determined by the stock price? Well, it obviously does tie into the value of the club, but I don't think it's going to make a massive difference in the grand scheme of things, because obviously it's only a £13 million increase per year on what we had before. So it's not like it's, 200 million extra a year. Obviously that would be massive. 13 million is obviously a hell of a lot of money, but it's not going to change the valuation of the club overnight, is it? The valuation of the club is down to so many different factors. It's down to the assets it has, how much Old Trafford is worth, how many players they've got on the books, how much those players are worth, like all of these types of things. Obviously TV deals, sponsorships, like there's so many different factors that come into a club's value. But at the end of the day, if you look at it on a very black and white level, the amount of money that the Glazers are reportedly getting or have been offered is way more than what the club's value is. What my point here is that they're doing these types of deals just to show how strong the commercial brand of Manchester United is, to show Sheikh Jassim, to show Sir Jim Ratcliffe that, just because we're not performing maybe to a lot of the fans' likings on the pitch, we're not really winning. Well, we're not winning major trophies, are we? We've won one League Cup in 5 years. But yet we're still able to compete with, the Real Madrids, the Barcelonas in the kind of commercial world. Whereas they are still very successful on the pitch, aren't they? So I think that's all they're trying to do. And it doesn't worry me at all. I don't think that this means the Glazers are staying personally. But I wanted to bring this into the show. I wanted to talk about it to see what you guys all think. And yeah, just to get a bit of opinions. Jamie says, what if this has nothing to do with the Glazers? Qualcomm is worth 124 billion. Some deal Qatar would do. Yeah, I mean, as I just said a couple of minutes ago, the Qatar Investment Fund are one of the top shareholders in this company that are about to sponsor the Manchester United shirt. So there is a link there. There is a strong link to there. I think they were the 6th highest shareholder in that company at the moment in time. So I think it does definitely, not complicate things, but it makes it a little bit more interesting because there is a direct link to Qatar with this deal. But let me know what your thoughts are on that one. And we will move on to the next part of the show. Everybody who's watching, please do smash a like on the video and please do subscribe to the channel if you're new. I've just dropped a link in the chat to subscribe. It really helps out the channel. So if you haven't done it already, please do go and do that. Right, let's crack on with the rest of the show though. Let's talk a little bit about Jadon Sancho. And there is a story that's come out in the last couple of minutes from The Athletic. And they are reporting that Ten Hag has become increasingly exasperated with Jadon Sancho's punctuality and what he perceives as sluggishness in training. This has also not gone unnoticed by his teammates, some of whom share the manager's sense of frustration. So we're still getting these stories, these leaks, whatever you want to call them, coming out saying that ultimately Jadon Sancho is not up to the standards of Manchester United. And that's not just been announced by, Ten Hag. It's been noticed by the other trainers. It's been noticed by the other players. I don't know. I'm not sure what this is going to happen with Jadon, because we had a story from Fabrizio as well this morning saying that Jadon Sancho has deleted the post from Twitter. But from what I'm hearing, there's still no clarity between Sancho and Erik ten Hag, and also still no guarantee that he will be selected for the next game. So it doesn't look like this situation has been resolved, really. Obviously, everybody last night thought that the deleting of this Twitter post would have meant that in the next couple of hours, we'd have got a statement from Jadon Sancho saying, he was sorry, that he was disappointed that he wasn't playing and he shouldn't have done what he did and all the rest of it. And maybe you could try and move forward. Obviously, it would have been difficult to move forward, but maybe you could have. But we're still talking about the same things today. We're still talking about the same conversations this morning that, Jadon Sancho ultimately doesn't know whether he's going to even be part of the team anymore, because he hasn't been able to make up with Erik ten Hag. And then we have another story as well, also coming out from The Athletic, saying the issues at United date back to last season when Ten Hag and his coaches tried to get Sancho to arrive on time by setting him a schedule at least 1 hour earlier than the rest of the squad. This tactic had some initial success before Sancho fell into familiar patterns. I mean, I'm not going to lie, like the more I read these stories, the more it just infuriates me. Like, this man is earning £350,000 per week, right? And Ten Hag and his management team are having to set him like childlike targets that he arrives 1 hour early so that he's not late for the training session. I mean, that to me is just, that's the biggest red flag you could possibly have, right? That you can't even get to training on time to play for the biggest club in world football, or one of the biggest clubs for all of those who say we're not the biggest club anymore. One of the top 5 clubs in world football, right? You're playing for them. You're getting paid what most people probably don't even earn in 10 years in the UK, £350,000 in 1 week. And the manager's having to set you literally like you're a baby, that you have to, be told, come in 1 hour early, almost like trick your mind. Okay, I've got to be in at 7. Okay, I'll get in at 7, but then training actually starts at 8. I mean, that's like something that like you wouldn't even get that at a job, would you? If that was at a normal job, they'd just be like, mate, if you can't even get to work on time and we're having to tell you to come in an hour earlier to stop you from being late, like you would just get sacked immediately, wouldn't you? They just say you're clearly not up for the task. And that's for people who would, let's just say, are working average jobs, which they probably don't really enjoy, you know, just in an office or whatever. Imagine actually being a professional footballer and you're having to be set like little baby, like, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? Like, the more I see this stuff like this, it just makes me frustrated. I really wanted to give Jadon Sancho a chance, but every single time a new story comes out about him, it just makes me dislike the situation even more. And I think this one's just the icing on the cake. The fact that literally it says that they're having to set him a schedule to arrive 1 hour earlier than the rest of the squad. And that it had some initial success before Sancho just fell back into his same patterns. I mean, you know what I'm not going to do though, right? I'm not going to blame Erik ten Hag for any of this because, again, this all boils back to the owners, the recruitment staff. They should have seen from the very, very beginning that this person had these, you know, these attitude problems. He didn't turn up on time. He'd had disciplinary options in the past. Like, this should have been identified before Manchester United spent 75 million on him and gave him 350 grand a week. Like, how do they not know this? That's the bit that frustrates me more than anything, because I think Erik ten Hag's come into this job and he's having to make the best out of these situations. You know, we always heard that Erik ten Hag in his first interview said that he was going to turn Rashford into this world-class player. And that was part of the reason that they gave him the job, because they really wanted somebody who could nurture the talent that we had at Manchester United. And I assume that he probably would have liked to have made it work with Jadon Sancho, but it sounds like it's gone too far for me now. And I think he has to go. I do. I think that's just the complete nail on the coffin. Fred says, has Carrington got a naughty step? I mean, it's literally a joke, isn't it? An absolute joke. Like that's like what you do with like a child, isn't it? You say to your child, like, oh, get up an hour early. You know, set your alarm at 7 when really you need them to get up at 8. So they're, you know, so you have an extra hour for them to get ready because you know they take too long to get ready. Like, that's what you do with a child, not somebody who's, you'd hope, doing the thing that they've wanted to do all their life, you know, being a professional footballer. Imagine how many kids there are out there, right, who train tirelessly every single day to try and reach the levels of becoming a professional footballer. I think the stats are like 0.1% of people who, you know, are going down the professional route actually become a professional footballer. And you've got somebody here who's he's probably in the top 10 highest paid players in the Premier League. I think he's he's our highest earning player, and he still can't even get to work on time. It's absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? Chris says it's common knowledge by the public in Manchester that Jadon is out and about town all week. Always out partying. He needs to go. I don't know about that, mate. Obviously, I saw that he was over in New York over the international break, which caused a lot of upset, which I do kind of agree with to somewhat. You know, you've just had a massive dispute with the manager, right? You've just fallen out with the manager. You've pretty much called him out on Twitter, or you have called him out on Twitter, and then you jet off to New York. I mean, if you wanted to try and revive your Manchester United career, you'd be on Carrington training, you know, like Ronaldo, right? 35-year-old Ronaldo. You still hear that Ronaldo is the last one to leave the training field every single day. He's 35. He's proved everything. He doesn't need to do that. He could say, you know, like some footballers, when they reach that certain age, they say, oh, I'm only going to be able to train 2 times a week and the rest of the time I want to spend with my family. But no, people like Cristiano Ronaldo with the right mentality, they're the last ones in training, even at the age of 35. Whereas you've got someone like this who has just had this massive issue, and instead of putting in extra hours on the training pitch, he's just gone off to New York for somebody's birthday party. I mean, yeah, it's not great, is it? Let's see what Comeback King says. Needs Sancho to sit in the naughty corner of the room. I mean, mate, it's come down to that, hasn't it? And like, when there's, you know, reputable outlets like The Athletic putting out these stories, it's literally embarrassing. Like, if I was him, I would absolutely be embarrassing. The story goes on to say that one source close to Dortmund noted that although Jadon Sancho was mentally tough on the pitch, he could be quite childish and unprofessional with little things, occasionally missing team meetings or oversleeping were viewed as problematic. I mean, how are we only finding this out now? Like, we've had him here for 2 years. We paid all of this money for him. Why is there all these stories coming out now that he's, you know, at Dortmund, he was childish, he was unprofessional, he missed team meetings, and he overslept? I mean, did Manchester United not do any research? Or did Ed Woodward just say, oh, I've been negotiating for him for 2 years. Oh, let's just go and get him. I don't care if he's childish. I don't care if he's going to miss team meetings. I mean, you know what? they probably just looked at it from a commercial perspective. They probably thought, right, Jadon Sancho, he's a big name, he's English, we'll bring him in, we'll sell loads of shirts. That was probably what they kind of thought, wasn't it, to be honest with you? But let me know what you think about that one. Yeah, I mean, somebody in the chat saying Ronaldo is 38. I mean, there you go. Ronaldo's nearly 40 and he's still the last one to be in training every single day. He's still, you know, when you see what the kind of foods he eats, when you see how he looks after himself, his conditioning, it's the complete opposite of what people like Sancho are like, isn't it? You know, or from what we can see anyway. Obviously, I'm not there on the training pitch, so I'm not going to say I've watched Sancho train. But the fact that we've got the manager calling him out, you've got pretty much every outlet in, you know, the industry, the Athletic, all of these people leaking all these stories about his attitude and all the rest of it. It's just not what we need at Manchester United. And I think we need to completely rid the club of all of these types of players. There was obviously people like Jesse Lingard, who was kind of similar, but maybe not as bad. You know, was a little bit of I don't really know what the right word is, but, you know, and Paul Pogba, there was all these types of people that were a bit of a distraction around the club, weren't they? Yeah, so let me know what you think about that one. What do you think Manchester United should do with Jadon Sancho? Sean says Sancho will get sold next summer. All we can hope is performances really improve and we get a big offer. Not right for United. Yeah, I hear you. Mumra says, and some people were blaming Erik ten Hag for his dissatisfaction with Sancho's training in public. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Comeback King says Ronaldo is the first at United and the last one that leaves. Yeah, I mean that's exactly it, isn't it? And that's what you strive for in somebody who plays for Manchester United. It's not just about performing on the pitch. It's about what they do off the pitch. It's about it's about what they do, you know, in training. It's about how they look after themselves, whether they go out partying, whether they eat properly. Like you should have a little bit more respect for you. I get it. They're 23-year-olds. They're young people, but you're going into the industry of being an elite athlete. You can't just be like, right, I'm going to go out partying all the time. I mean, Mark says, not defending Sancho, but if I was 23-year-old multimillionaire, go buy big yacht to date lovely ladies or run around in the rain in Manchester, tough choice. Yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying, but we need those types of people who want to run around in the rain in Manchester, not the ones who want to be sat on a super yacht all the time doing nothing. I mean, you know, that we're kind of saying the same thing. Like, I get it. I do. You know, he's 23 years of age. He's earning £350,000 per week. What's that a month? About £1.5 million a month. You know, he probably gets invited to all these parties like he did in New York, to, you know, these A-list parties and all the rest of it. I get it. Like, I get it completely. But Manchester United shouldn't be signing people like that. And if they thought that they could bring him in and change his ways when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was the manager, then they're even more deluded than I thought in the first place, because that was definitely never going to happen, was it? They needed a disciplinary type manager, Erik ten Hag. We've tried that, and it hasn't worked with Jadon Sancho. So I don't know what type of manager would actually work with Jadon. Obviously at Dortmund, we're still hearing that he wasn't particularly, you know, punctual and all the rest of it, but he had something to prove at Dortmund. He wanted to get that move to a Manchester United, to somewhere where he was going to earn the mega money, because I doubt he was earning anything close to what he's earning now at Dortmund. Let me just have a look quickly. So yeah, at Dortmund, he was on £100,000 a week, which is obviously a lot of money, but he's now on £350,000 a week, right? So we've almost quadrupled his wages there, haven't we? Let's see what everybody else is saying. Nathan says, Maguire had the same problem. He thinks he doesn't have to prove himself, yet football is competitive. You know what, though? As much as people dislike Harry Maguire, right? He's never, ever, ever done the same things as what Jadon's done here. We never hear that he's late for training. We never hear that he doesn't put in effort in training. Like, it's easy to slag off Harry Maguire, but let's give him a little bit of credit, right? I know he's not good enough for Manchester United. I know he's pretty much just a walking meme now, but he's been here for what, 5 or 6 years? We've never heard that he doesn't train properly. We never hear that he's late for team meetings. We never hear that he, you know, comes in and doesn't train properly, or, you know, doesn't seem interested, or all the rest of it. He always does try. He's just not good enough. So I'm not going to slag off Harry Maguire, and I'm not going to put Maguire and Jadon Sancho in the same, you know, bracket, because Jadon Sancho is clearly a very talented player. Nobody can question that. He is. We've seen it at Dortmund. We've seen it at other places. We've seen glimmers of it in Manchester United. It's just how he applies himself, you know. Cristiano Ronaldo, originally, when we first signed him, I don't think he was on the level of like a Messi by way of his original skills, you know, that he was born with. But he only reached the level he was because of the tireless amount of effort he put in, the tireless amount of training. You know, he trained harder than all the rest of the players. He ate better than all the rest of the players. He everything around him was done properly. And I just think that, you know, some of those players who know they have the skill are just like, oh, I don't really care. Like, and yeah, it's just frustrating, isn't it? Somebody says Maguire scored a goal last night. Yeah, I know. As I said, guys, Maguire is a walking meme now. Like, I feel kind of bad for the guy in some ways, but obviously I want him to leave Manchester United. But just in the context of that conversation, I think that you can't really slag him off for the effort he tries. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've never heard once a manager speak out against Harry Maguire and said he comes in, he hangs his head round, he's moping round, he's all, he's crying because he doesn't get picked and he's, not turning up to training and all the rest of it. So at least he understands what it means to be a Manchester United player. He's just not good enough to be a Manchester United player. There's a big difference between that. Jadon Sancho is good enough to be a Manchester United player. If he worked as hard as like a Ronaldo, as somebody of that level, I think he would go on to be one of the best players in the world. I genuinely believe that. He's only 23 years of age, right? He's nowhere near his prime. I honestly think that if he applies himself properly, Jadon Sancho could be one of the top 10 players in world football. I genuinely believe that. I think he has all of the attributes. I think he's got the skills. He's got the, he's got everything. But he clearly just doesn't have the right attitude, and he has to be moved on. But let me know what you think. Let's see what people are saying. Paul says we'll end up losing an absolute fortune on him, and then we'll sell him, having to compensate for his high wage to get him out. Mate, obviously, yeah. He's on ridiculous wages. Nobody's going to pay much money for him. I mean, I'd be very surprised if anybody gave us more than maybe 20 or 30 million now after everything that's happened, after all of this, public dispute. Most clubs would look at that and say, I'm not going anywhere near that. But there will be some club who say, you know what, we're going to try and make this situation work. You know what? I could see him going to someone like Tottenham. I could see Jadon Sancho in Tottenham. Obviously, he's from London originally. I reckon that maybe a Tottenham would come in for him. That would be my prediction if I was going to pick someone now. Obviously, they've got £100 million plus sat in the bank account from the Harry Kane deal. Tottenham are on the up, whether we like it or not. They are. They look decent under this new manager, Ange. They're playing some good football. Obviously, James Maddison has been an incredible signing for them. I could see Jadon Sancho in a Tottenham shirt, and I think that would be a big marquee signing for them. They'd bring him in, and you know what? He'd probably do well. He would. I think that you can't just blame Jadon Sancho on this. It's all about the mentality generally at Manchester United. We've brought in so many players over the years, so much mediocrity, right? That Jadon probably just looks around and thinks, oh well, Harry Maguire's here. I'm not going to train. I'm not going to train properly. They're not going to get rid of me. I've got a God knows how long's his contract. Let's have a look. I mean, when I look at his contract, it's probably going to be like an 8-year contract, isn't it? So he's got a contract till 2026. He's got 3 years left on his deal. I'd be very, very surprised if he's here until the end of it. Let's see what people are saying then. Anthony says, Kieran, that's the only thing that you've said that I disagree with. I don't care if Maguire smiles or tries. He's absolutely rubbish. Mate, I agree. He is rubbish. He's not good enough to play for Manchester United. My only point that I was trying to make there is, right, that Jadon Sancho is clearly a talented player, okay? I don't think anybody can disagree with that. But it's just how he applies himself, right? Harry Maguire is clearly not a talented player, but he does apply himself. So I don't think you should put them in the same bracket because, like, at least Harry Maguire tries. I'm not saying I want to keep him. He 100% should leave. He's 100% not good enough for Manchester United. But when was the last time that Harry Maguire went on Twitter and, slagged off the manager and all the rest of it? He hasn't done that, has he? So we should all get Harry Maguire shirts. We should all, support that. I'm joking, obviously. Don't do that. Let's see what everyone else is saying quickly in the chat. Abba says Spurs won't pay his wages. The thing that you have to remember with wages, Abba, is that obviously, they could give him a signing on bonus. So they could give him like £10 million up front and then maybe he'll sign a 200 grand a week contract. So it's not always as black and white as they won't pay his wages. They can make it work so it doesn't break their wage structure. And that's how they usually do it. They usually give the players a signing on bonus. So they'll say, if you join us, we'll give you 200 grand a week, but we'll give you £10 million up front as a signing on bonus. That's usually how it works. Their highest earning players on 200 grand a week. So they'd probably match that, give him 200 grand a week, and then they'd probably make up, or Manchester United would be expected to make up the difference of the 150 grand. I mean, how much is that? Yeah, I mean, I've just worked it out really, really quickly there, right? So say he went to someone like Tottenham, they paid him 200 grand a week. The difference in salary over a 3-year contract, which is how much he's got left on his current deal, would be around £23 million. So he'd be set to lose 23 million. Maybe Manchester United say, we'll give him half, you give him half, and then he goes. That's what would have to happen. But in short, we would lose a hell of a lot of money on him, definitely. Vikram says his reputation is in the mud. No big club will sign him now, talking about Jadon Sancho. Yeah, mate, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. So, I mean, if we're going on that angle, which is obviously quite damning, then it means that we've got to make it work then. If you think nobody's going to sign him, yeah. No, so Tony says he won't get a signing on bonus unless he leaves on a free. No, a lot of clubs do give signing on bonuses when people join, and it is a way of getting around the kind of wage difference at some places. So Laurie Whitwell's just come up with a story as well about Jadon. He says Erik ten Hag set Jadon Sancho early roll calls in bid to get him to turn up on time. The issues persisted. Training levels prompted deselection for Arsenal, plus scapegoat post made. Manchester United prepared to sell to Saudi Arabia. Sancho declined. So there we go, guys. There's some clarity. Manchester United wanted to sell Jadon Sancho in the summer transfer window to Saudi Arabia, but Sancho refused to go. That's coming out from Laurie Whitwell in the last 3 minutes. So it does look like, Manchester United were willing for him to leave, but he just didn't want to go. You know what? This could be another one where we've got him player sat on the bench, a Phil Jones type, who's here for the whole length of their contract, earning absolutely ridiculous amounts of money, and we're just stuck with them because we've given them a stupid contract. Like that could well happen. We'll have to wait and see, but yeah, Anthony says, I like Sancho, it's a shame. Yeah, I agree, mate. I do as well. I was really, really supportive of Jadon Sancho over the summer. I think he has all of the characteristics to go on to be a really, really good player, but it just hasn't worked out for him, has it? Captain Jack Sparrow says, Sancho can learn from Aaron Wan-Bissaka, just go and do your best. Yeah, 100%, mate. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is a model professional for me. He was completely out of the team. He looked like he was going to be leaving the club, and the next thing you know, he's back. And he's the starting right back. I mean, that just shows what you can do, doesn't it? Lee says Qatar will come in and sack Sancho and Maguire off in January. They will pay them off and they'll be gone, hopefully. Yeah, I mean, that's obviously the dream scenario, isn't it? But whether that will happen or not, I don't know. Right, I'm going to wrap the show up here, guys. Thank you so much to everyone who's joined us on the show this morning. We will, of course, be back live at 6 p.m. UK time for your evening show. If anything breaks during the day, of course, we do always go live. So please do make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And please do smash a like on the video before you leave. Thank you so much to everyone who's joined us this morning. This has been Daily Red Devil. I've been Kieran, and I'll catch you all later.